don't know if I'm part of the long-lost family or not.
It can be.
But I think my role here is to say something from an activist network. An activist network that's London-wide called Just Space. And an activist network that's of long-standing. We've been active for 10 years. And an activist network that is made up of many community organisations that would probably say we are empowered, we have our visions, we're doing many things, and we've been coming together for many years in many multiple networks, and actually we want recognition. So Just Space came together because we felt that the whole direction of the development of London was wrong, that actually we needed a break with it, a break with the current direction, and we needed radical rethinking about the type of city, the type of London that we, the citizens of London, wanted to be proud of, that met our needs, that met our visions. So, in a sense, there was an issue around trying to break with a direction which is not seen as empowering at all, and to have radical rethinking, but then to actually engage, not simply to have our radical thinking and everything carries on because we're so in parallel to everything, but actually how can we find ways as a network of many citizens groups to actually effectively challenge the direction of London. So that was why we came together 10 years ago. Who are we? The driver of Just Space is community groups, by which we mean associations of citizens, if you like. There are tenants and residents associations, environmental groups, community centres, communities of interest, small business and traders organisations. Usually not with a headquarters, not with paid staff, truly volunteers in terms of their actions as citizens. So quite distinct from the charitable sector. That's not to say that the charitable sector and the organised voluntary sector is not part of Just Space. London Voluntary Services Council was a founding member of Just Space, and there are other voluntary sector organisations that are very much part of what we do. But our aim is to be citizen-led, to be led by the passions of the community groups on the ground, and to seek to tap into the resources, the services that the charitable sector has, to actually support what we want to achieve as the citizens of London through our organised citizens associations. So we've always had a relationship. We want to develop that relationship much further and more deeply. But actually we feel that, in a sense, it has to respect the agenda that is out there. It doesn't have to be found or searched for too difficultly, with too great a difficulty. It's actually there, visible, and we want to connect up much better and actually see that the charitable sector is actually sharing their resources with the people's organisations that are existing and are vibrant. So, what are our main issues in a nutshell? I guess you can tell from the name Just Space, perhaps, you can work it out. But on the one hand, it's about, we feel there's a need for justice, and that justice should operate at many levels. It is multidimensional. So we're looking at social justice, we're looking at economic justice, we're looking at environmental justice, and so on. And then the question of space is really, how do we create spaces in the way in which London is governed as a city in which the people of London, through their citizens' associations, can really feel that we're empowered here, that we are, if you like, a partner in the shaping of London as a city. How can we create those spaces? And they need to be very broad spaces, not silos, not small numbers of leaders, whether they're community leaders or whatever. The idea of really being extremely diverse and very committed to reaching out and to diversity and inclusiveness. That's very much part of our agenda too. So what are we doing about it? Well, after many years of being rather reactive in terms of analysing critically the direction of London and campaigning in opposition to many things that we don't like about the way in which the city is developing, we actually decided 18 months ago that with the new Mayor of London elections looming, that this time actually we need to be clearly very proactive, and we actually need to assert ourselves with the new Mayor of London, when that person's in position, with a clear set of propositions from our side. So we move beyond a critical analysis to actually, what are the propositions for a much better London? A London that's really addressing the inequality, the disadvantage, and so on. So we've had our standing conferences. We've had 3 standing conferences over the last year, and as a result of those, we've produced 2 major publications. One was in a newspaper format, which was a more, if you like, popular version, the kind that you could quite easily put round places where people meet and people would want to have a look at it. So we produced this one first of all, and then 6 months later, and this came out in August of last year, we produced something more detailed, more propositional, if you like, towards a community-led plan for London, policy directions. And it's this second document that's really addressed to the Mayor of London and the GLA in particular, though we hope we've managed to write it in a language which is accessible as well to the people of London. But we produced this, it's the result of a year's work, not just 3 conferences, but a whole series of working groups. And we came to write this not by employing a consultant to write it for us. We actually wrote it ourselves. We wrote it through the outputs of the conferences and the working groups, and there were many authors of this document. And you might probably be able to tell that when you read it, but hopefully it does flow reasonably well. So we produced these 2 documents. I've got limited copies here for those who are particularly keen to have a copy, but both are freely available as PDFs on the Just Space website, justspace.org.uk. So you can access them that way, but those like me who really like hard copies as well, and if you're keen to understand this better, I do have a few copies, so let me know during the day. So finally, because I guess I'm running out of the time you want me to take, I think just 2 quick things. One is actually who has been involved. You might be thinking, well, okay, but who is involved with this? And in the inside back cover, we list the 85 organisations from the largely community organisations, but some from the charitable and voluntary sector too, who actually contributed to the production of this. And a number of those are networks as well, so obviously one's looking beyond the 85, because many of them are networks too. And along the way we had fierce debates around what do we mean by diversity and inclusion, who is this for, who is driving this? And we came up with the following phrase, which is on page 6 of the document, which is that actually we need to pull together, bring together working class communities. Class, we had many voices saying, class just doesn't get recognised. We have the equality work, but where's class when it comes to the equality debate? So we put in here that the importance of working class communities, black, Asian and minority ethnic groups, gypsies and travellers, LGBT communities, the young, older people, the unemployed, those with a range of disabilities, and there's others on the list, who all in diverse ways are disadvantaged by London's current development. And then this sentence at the end, which we've spent a lot of time debating. At the moment, we feel there is no differentiation to recognise specific needs. You know, there are so many specific needs, and they all need voice, and they all need recognition. But equally, we say there are no foundations at the moment that are creating solidarities. So alongside recognition of all the different needs and voices for all those different needs, we also don't want to create silos, we don't want to create lots of fragmentation. We actually need to also build solidarities and lay the foundations for that. So that's really what we're trying to do. And I guess our hope for today is that one important thing would be, how do we develop stronger solidarities between the work, for example, of The Way Ahead and your definition of a civil society, which we don't feel includes us, but surely objectively we are part of civil society, all of us. So the civil society shouldn't just be portrayed as the charitable sector or the voluntary sector organisations. Surely it's wider than that, surely. And you've produced this report, sorry to say you, but the voluntary and charitable sectors produced a report, The Way Ahead. Just Space and many community groups have produced this report, a community-led plan, and they seem to be completely in parallel to each other. I'm not aware, certainly, of any connections, really, between the two. So I think there's a challenge today. You know, we are all civil society. How actually can we join up much more effectively and therefore be more powerful in our joint project of really trying to change the City of London and what the Mayor of London is doing?
Thank you very much, Richard.